New London.
Here we go. So
Trevor, stop.
last
New.
Friday.
We'll just start calling it new.
I'm terrified. I've never been more scared.
Do you have any predictions, Trevor, for Hunter, for whatever the like? There's obviously some kind of twister going on here.
I have several predictions.
Okay.
I think hole 6 is gone. Judging by where we saw the new hole 7 fairway being cut in when we played it, I think hole 6 is gone.
Goodbye to the hardest hole in disc
I'm gonna
golf.
guess it starts behind the fire station because I know that was added to plan at one point, which would mean the first few holes would be basically like that open runway thing. Yeah. But beyond, and we know hole 11's changing, so I'm gonna assume that there's only like 2 or 3 holes that are like we know them. That's my assumption going into this.
So I'm scared it's gonna be. I'm scared it's gonna be really Goliath-y.
And in what way?
That would just in the sense of like there's a lot of really really tight lines that don't really make a ton of sense. And
what made Goliath?
But Goliath is also is not manicured.
I would say what made Goliath rough to me was just the hiking.
Maybe my views of it is skewed by that.
I've ran the New London trails. There's not that much.
There's not
down.
Elevation. Yeah,
not that much. There's elevation, but not that much.
I found it. What?
Let's hear it, Trev.
What?
So first thing I'll say is definitely listen. You want to listen to everything before you start panicking.
Oh no. Yeah, good luck with us.
So what I've done,
I've been panicking since you texted and withheld information.
I've done a few. So I went out last Friday. I walked the entire course with Brian, who's the head of Parks and Rec, and heading this up, and with Paul, who has been designing it. And at the time we walked it, they had finalized. There's a couple tweaks here and there. They haven't put in baskets yet, so there's always going to be some more tweaks. But they basically finalized the layout. They had also picked out FPO pins and tees for like Champions Cup, but eventually Paul is going to design a true short course on this layout as well. So because right now the way the short, whether it be a pin or basket, because they're doing both, it's more of just like it's a little shorter but the same vibe. They want to design one that's like a lot shorter.
It's kind of one of the things I liked about New London.
What I did is as we walked through the course, I basically 1 through 18 I was jotting down notes of like, okay, here's the vibe of this hole. And I was kind of scoring it in my brain so that I could score it against, the old course. And to be fair, obviously there's still quite a bit that needs cut in, but it's pretty well cut in. Most of what needs done left on the course is stump grinding. But the first thing I say is Bedford Parks and Rec has been working their butts off.
They're phenomenal.
Because what they have had to do on this layout, they have taken out so many trees and brush and briars. And it's insane what they've done. And they're almost done with that, with a large part of that. So that is insane. So I've got facts and I've got thoughts. And I'll go with the facts first. I'm just going to start breaking it down for you. Okay. So here we go. These are the facts.
I'm scared too.
Here's the first fact. Par. The par was a 68. It's most likely going to be a 69.
Okay.
It was currently a 68, but I believe I actually convinced Paul to make one hole a par 5 instead of a 4. I think it's going to end up being a par 69. Par 3s, there used to be 7. Currently, there is 7.
Okay.
Par 4s, there was 8. Now currently 7. Par 5s, there was 3. Now currently 4 with the latest change. If they decide to change this one hole from a 4 to a 5, which I believe they will.
Okay.
So pretty similar there. Length of the course. So it was 11,294 feet. And based on where they have it now and with the changes they have added, it should be pretty close to that, maybe a little bit longer. Maybe.
Oh, okay.
But pretty close. So pretty similar to start.
I think with some of the holes that they're...
Now I'm going to get into now I'm going to tell you the holes that are the same as they used to be and the holes that are used but not the same.
Hunter, get ready. This is going to be the shocking part.
No, I'm ready.
Just be ready.
Hole 6 is gone.
Just here are the holes that are exactly the same. Now, this doesn't mean they play, and I don't think none of these holes play exactly where they were, except for I think one of them.
Wait, what?
Like
in the order,
in the order of the course.
Oh, okay. I understand.
Hole 5, hole 8, hole 9, and hole 12.
Yeah.
Those are the only holes that are exactly the same.
They blew up the one hole. Yeah, one hole.
These are the holes.
Sorry, Trev. Told not to panic.
These are the holes that are, don't panic yet. These are the holes that are partially the same. Hole 6, hole 7, hole 10, and hole 11.
Okay.
Now let me explain to you.
I can live with partially, maybe.
Let me explain to you what hole 6 is.
Not the same.
This is what hole 6 is now hole 3. Let me explain to you what it is.
Scary.
You're going to tee off from where the short pad is around the corner. So you're going to be at the corner.
Okay.
And it's a par 4 And the basket is going to be an elevated basket that sits just shy of where the last OB carry was. So you're going to have the OB behind the basket, and it's a par 4. So it's a fine hole. It's not as good of a hole. Now, I just want you to – encourage you that I think that there are 2 holes on this course that are better than hole 6, potentially.
Okay. Original hole 6.
Original hole 6. I think there are 2 holes in this course that could be better. So hole 7, I said that.
Right now, I don't like hole 6. I like hole 6.
It's just a fine hole, but it's
definitely worse. Definitely much worse.
Absolutely.
Much worse.
Absolutely. But it's not the feature. Don't think of it as the feature hole that it was.
All right, it's not a feature hole anymore.
There are other holes that are that.
It's not a feature hole. Sounds like a good hole.
So hole 7.
Sounds like a good hole.
Hole 7 does not exist the way it was. The new use of hole 7 is the green and the OB carry are still going to be in play. You're going to be playing from a wooded area. So if you're in the landing area, look up to your right. They're clearing out a ton of that woods.
That's what we saw.
If you're in the landing area,
it's
look
a par
up to your
4.
Right.
That's what we had seen, right?
It's a par 4 where your goal is to make it out. No, it's not even cleared out yet. There's nothing to see. They haven't cleared that yet.
So what the heck did we see?
I don't know what you're talking about.
There's a gap into the woods.
You're
from
thinking
the
about
area.
hole
7.
11.
No, 7.
Oh.
Well, maybe they was partially clear.
Because from the second landing zone, if you turn around and look back.
Yeah, it's not.
Is that where we're talking?
Cleared it out. I don't know.
Well, that's where I saw it.
In any case, the vibe of that hole is you're going to be trying to make it out of the woods to the landing zone to then attack the green from there. So still a pretty good use of that area.
I'm glad the island's still there.
Hole 10 is literally the same hole 10, except for they're having to move the basket a little left. Here's a fun fact for you. The reason all those trees came down on hole 10 or in 9, it was the power company.
Oh, nice.
It was not something that they wanted to do.
I'm happy they're gone.
I am too.
And then hole 11. So hole 11, that's the one we've really been seeing a lot of.
Hole 12 was the one I was thinking about,
hole 12 exactly the same. So hole 11,
Really?
you are teeing off, and this is obviously isn't hole 11, but you're teeing off from where the short tee was, chucking down that gap all the way through into those woods, and it goes up to the right. It's a pretty cool looking hole, but that's the use of the hole 11 area.
Up to the right?
Yeah, once you go past where hole 11's basket was, and then up to the right. It's where we had seen them cutting
they've
all
been
that
clearing a
stuff
bunch of stuff back there.
I understand.
Okay, so those are some facts. Now here's some thoughts I'm going to give you on the layout as a whole. Thought number 1, this course is hard. I think harder than it was previously.
Okay.
It looks tough. Thought number 2, though I do believe in general it's probably a little tighter, I think it's very fair. The woods vibe you should be thinking of is any course you've ever seen where like they do a good job of making sure the fairway is the fairway. So anytime we're in,
are we like driving? What truck's fitting down the fairway?
A lot of them, a pretty big one, and I'll get to that in a second. But a lot of these wooded gaps, there are a few tighter lines, but a lot of these wooded gaps are pretty large.
Like a dump truck.
Some of them.
I don't like some of them. Because dump truck was fitting down all but one.
Thought number
last hole.
Thought number 3. I think this course can make an excellent venue for like a demanding major championship. I think it could be an awesome Champions Cup course because it's going to be tough.
Okay.
Thought number 4, slightly more elevation than before. Not grueling. There were a couple steep hills. They definitely found some more elevation out there, but it wasn't grueling.
That's okay. That course could use a little more elevation.
But some longer walks between certain holes. They had to get creative with that, and that is so. It is a little bit of a walk. It's definitely
Brody
a walk.
Said that it's stupid that disc golf holes are so close to each other.
If you go up, do you get rewarded with down?
Yes.
Okay.
Especially in the case of there.
That's what I care about the most.
There's one hole I do have one picture to show you guys because it was like pretty insane.
Where is that elevation?
So more scrambling, less pitch outs. I wrote down because a lot of those holes, it's like there. I think there'll be more scramble shots and less of like the hole 2, hole 6, where like you go and you just pitch.
Is there OB?
Less OB, but still OB present on the course. And here's the kicker: is with the direction the course goes now, that OB is on the left of most holes instead of all being on the right. So that actually makes it quite a bit.
But is
harder.
it like right up on the fairway, or is it like
on the holes where it's present? Yeah, it's a similar vibe of like it's right in your face. But you're going to see a lot more holes that involve like, okay, I went into the woods. Let me try to progress and scramble rather than I just have to pitch out, that kind of vibe. Thought number 8, if you can hit a fair size gap and throw far, this course is going to be fun. Like you can have a pretty good day out there, and it'll be, because like I said, the fairways are fair, but the holes are long, and like you do have to be like throwing it relatively well. So those are some thoughts. Now, what I did is before I went out there, I ranked every New London hole in my head 1 through 10, and I got an average score. And the score that I came up with was an average of 7.1 out of 10. It's 128 added up, so 7.1 out of 10. I did this for the new course as well. And now, keep in mind, this is very gut reaction.
Yeah.
It's
You haven't
impossible.
actually played the
It is
holes.
impossible for me to do this, and I'm not sure if that would affect me. It probably means I won't be as harsh on certain holes because I haven't been able to give them a chance yet. And it may even mean that I overrate some more holes. I think less of that, though. I think more of the idea that I would not be as harsh on certain holes because I haven't thrown them. And it came out to an average of 7.3.
Okay.
So slightly higher. And here's why. There are a few holes on this course that are going to be insane. For starters, I like that they kept the original hole 5 that plays as hole 17 now, which is a really cool hole 17.
Mm-hmm.
Hole number 10 is pretty wild. I have a picture here.
I forget. We haven't even talked about.
I don't know that I'm allowed to show this, but I
holes.
can show Hunter. So this is a lot higher than it looks in this picture, but you're basically throwing down like probably 100 feet down into this fairway, and then it's a par 5 that goes up in the woods. And behind the tee area, there's all this grass. Like, it's going to be a great spot to sit and watch drives. Very signature hole. And then there's hole 18. So hole 18, in my mind, is their reply to losing hole 6, and it's behind hole 6's tee. That area, that strip we saw them clearing.
Okay.
So hole 18 is a par 5, and you are throwing basically to an end of like an OB section, and then there's an OB carry in the middle to a landing zone, and then a final one to like this really cool, slightly wooded, like tree surrounded area, and it looks amazing. And I think that that hole is going to be like a very signature 10 out of 10 hole. I also think that other downhill one is going to be. So I think that overall.
So now it kind of gives the idea of like, you don't know who has this until 18's over.
Yeah. How tough of a hole is 18?
I think it could be, it's going to be tough because it is narrow, just like hole 6. When you think about the width of hole 6.
Well, where's the OB on this new 18?
The OB, they're going to make OB. On the left and the right potentially, or maybe just the left. I can't remember what they had said, and this is all, like I said, still being talked about. But the vibe I got from the course, and this is kind of what Paul had said to me beforehand, is I think there was definitely thought put into each hole. I don't know how they're all going to play, but I think even at New London, you could look at a certain hole and be like, it's kind of a little bit of a spacer in a way. Like, it's maybe not the most memorable. I think that each one of these holes was made with the potential to be a very good hole.
Okay.
And I do think it is going to make for a very good pro venue. I'm curious to see how it plays to you and I.
What is hole 1?
Hole 1 is a par 4. It does start kind of up near the fire department. It's in the woods.
So is it overall going to feel more wooded or less wooded?
So I wrote this down too. So I wrote down the old course,
or at least as.
So the old
what I'm as a terrified person listening heard in between all of yours is that we're about to play a tighter course that's going to play harder because it's tighter.
At the end of the day, yes, it is tighter and it is going to play more wooded. However, so I do think that. If you look at
I'm gonna cry.
If you look at it, yeah. If
no,
you look
don't
at
cry.
It,
don't
so
cry.
is it like
if you look at it
define
strictly,
it from like the wooded courses around here, gaps wise,
much fairer and easier than Independence. Not even in the same planet. I would honestly, genuinely say that this probably. I would even say it's wider than W.R. Jackson. Like a lot of these, think of East Clayton, some of their fairways where they are completely cleared, and the wider ones.
Well, describe it in New London terms.
Yeah.
What hole is it like closest to width wise?
Maybe think about hole 3. I think a lot of shots are like hole 3. There are some holes.
Okay.
So it's not really wooded.
It's not. No, a lot of the holes are like for instance, hole 1 and hole 3 at New London, you wouldn't consider them wooded holes really because they don't play the way. I think a lot of the holes are like that. Now,
I can live with that.
What this course does do a lot of times is they'll put one tree maybe halfway down the fairway and then one tree towards the basket that might be like your miss it or hit it type tree to where you do have to hit somewhat of a gap. But it's not going to be a course where you're sitting there in the tee box and 20 feet away from you is this 15-foot wide gap. Don't think that that's the case. They are being exhaustive with the amount of trees they're taking out. I mean, you should see the amount of pink ribbon up there. And I think when it's all said and done, I do not think that you're going to play the course and feel suffocated whatsoever. However, it is far, and if you are shanking it, you're going to get crushed. But I don't think that it's some like tight wooded course. I think that
is hole 8 still exist?
I think I was about
hole
to say
8's the exact same.
Okay, so how does that fit in?
That's tight. That's tight for this course. That's tight for this course.
Why are they not taking out more trees? On hole 8.
I don't know. They may. I think with their thought process, because we talked about doing some mods to some of the pre-existing holes, and they basically said like, yeah, we just got to get the course in the ground first, and then we're gonna maybe, because we had talked about what they might do is make 12. It's the old 12. They might make it an island, and I had tried to talk them into making it like the Pentagon build-up green at Independence, something like that, and they were like, yeah, it's a good idea, but like we'll get to that when we get to that. Another one that's kind of sick. I forgot to mention this in the modded holes. So 16 is old hole 4, but they're cutting a path through the woods. So think about you're at 3's basket. They're going to cut all the way through the woods, so it's a longer version of hole 4 up the hill. It's actually a pretty sick line once it's cut through.
Okay.
That's another one they modded.
Is it still 3?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just going to be long. Like I said, this
just
course
not
is
getting
long.
that hole
this
anymore.
This course
was right at the edge of all of our forehand distance.
This course is going to be so hard. It's going to be very hard. But I think if you go in and you play it with an empty mind, you're going to think it rocks.
It's going to be so hard.
And it's going to be very hard because you're going to be walking. Oh, and another modded hole I forgot.
But it's only one stroke harder, technically.
It's a par. But the par 3s are long and demanding. And there's just some monsters.
Do you have any idea of what's the equivalent?
Like, is there any, like, hole 3 was a breather, hole 4 was a breather, hole 12 was a breather?
It's
really hole 14 was a breather, hole 10 was a breather.
Not nearly like it was. No, not nearly like. Well, now there still is like old hole 10 is basically the same. So there's still going to be a couple, but it is. They definitely.
But what do you
mean
basically the same? What did they change on 10?
10, they're moving the basket slightly left to get away from the power lines. So that was the whole issue with the trees. But it's basically going to be the same thing. Now. Another one I forgot is one of the holes is from, so now you're standing in the landing area of 7 and you're throwing, so think about the path, the old fairway of 7, the first shot you throw, you're throwing back to 6's green from 7's landing area. So it's like a 400-foot tunnel shot. The basket finishes, it is kind of forehand, it finishes a little to the right. So that's another one. So yeah, it's going to be very weird. You're going to go out there and you're going to be walking straight through these old fairways. And it was the most bizarre feeling. And the whole time I was walking it, I was like, kind of like Hunter, I was like, oh my gosh, like all these holes are getting rid of, like what do we do? But then we'd get to another hole and be like, well, it does seem like a pretty good hole. Like I did not get to a single shot and thought to myself, I wouldn't want anything to do with that tee shot. Like that doesn't look fun at all. And I definitely had an open-minded approach. And I'm sure once I start throwing them, I'll probably dislike some a lot more than I am right now. But the biggest takeaway, like I said, I had was like, yeah, it's hard. You got to be able to throw far and keep it online. Like it is definitely not for the weaker arms.
I have my gut reaction. My gut reaction to what you say is I'm certainly less scared now because at least we got one of our guys boots on the ground, seeing that it doesn't suck.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad course at all.
That was the most terrifying thing.
I think it could be an incredible course.
The most terrifying thing to me is that New London got Lynchburg kind of this traction, and Ivy did a good job of that too. People liked Ivy.
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't. But they got Lynchburg kind of this nice little traction to where we could maybe have a Pro Tour stop, and that's really cool. I didn't want it, and I was terrified of New London just being a worse course now, and there being no reason why anybody would come here.
And to be fair, I am still very nervous because, like I said, I'm only one opinion, and I was very open-minded, and the course is not, I didn't throw it at all, and it's not even all the way cut in. It was just the concepts of the hole to holes to me, and the way they looked, I saw the potential.
It sounds to me, so I do think there was fat to cut at New London because there were holes that just weren't that important. And it sounds like for the most part, every hole now is like a cool hole. Like it like has something. It definitely seems,
and you got to think too, like the way it's laid out now, like they really had to bend to their layout because there's only so much land that they were able to use. And like part of the way they've dealt with that is, like I said, they're just not messing around when it comes to clearing out trees. Like they are chucking out fairways. They're cutting in trails. Like they're going to work on this thing.
My reaction right now is I'm actually the most excited I've ever been to play any disc golf course.
Yeah,
I want to play it so
playing
bad.
it is going to be very exhilarating the first time, but it's also going to be scary because it's like I don't know. And Paul's thrown the course, and so he has a better idea of it. But and there's still, even from now, once I've seen it to when the tees and baskets officially go in, there's still some things they need to decide on. You could tell they were still a little undecided on a few things, but the main layout seems to be in. I'm optimistic about it for sure, and I know for certain that there are a couple holes that are going to be real spotlight. I mean, just the one drive that you're throwing from the top of this giant hill, it's like following power lines. So it's like this open fairway. There's going to be OB on the left. Like that shot is probably going to be probably the coolest one in Lynchburg because it's just so downhill and it's such a bomber shot. Like it's very cool. And 18, I think, could be one of the better holes that we have. I'm
very excited. I'm sad about hole 6, especially just the fact that it's
that was
genuinely the hardest
I feel
course,
like
the hardest hole in the world.
They should have just, if you're gonna blow it up, don't even let me play the fairway.
Well, and the funny,
because now every time I throw, it's like, what the frick are we doing? This isn't it.
You just see the mutilated body of hole 6 right next to you.
Like just make me play across the fairway, make me walk. Don't make me throw the fairway.
It is gonna take a long time to adjust. Walking that course, like we've walked it for years in its current layout.
Yeah, a lot.
Or its former layout, I should say. It's gonna take a long time to adjust because, like, just getting the geography of where I was out there and like we're walking this trail, like we're going. It was very weird.
I'm really excited, Hunter. What's your knee-jerk reaction?
Sad.
Let us have it all.
Then there has to be sadness. Like
I think the only hole I wanted gone from New London is like 18. But I mean, if you made 18 par 5, I think that'd been fine.
I wanted 8 gone.
8 sucked. Yeah, 8's an interesting decision to leave because I think it was the worst hole by a long shot on that course.
It's the worst hole on the course.
Mainly just it didn't fit.
If they clean it up, though, it could be good.
If you clear it, it just didn't fit the rest of the vibe of the course.
I definitely wish they
Well, I'm glad to know that it still doesn't fit the vibe of the course.
That's what I was scared of. As Trevor was describing it, all that was painting in my head is Independence, and they took out 3 trees.
Or Nevin.
Well, that's just not. It's not remotely the same as Independence.
Well, I said they took out a few trees.
A lot.
But that's what. So I think the hardest part for me is I just am so fond of the current New London, the old New London. May she rest in peace.
Yeah.
That every throw I make, I'm just gonna be like, it's gonna be impossible for me to be on the same property and not compare.
Oh well, yeah. But the thing is,
the taking out a hole 6, because I think what made hole 6 as hard as it was, hole 6 statistically was the hardest hole in tour last year. Was you couldn't get distance off the tee.
Yeah.
And it was like almost a touchy tee shot to get you, like you could get some distance, but like birdie was basically out of the question for the majority. Like there was a handful of birdies at Worlds. I've only ever eyewitnessed 2 birdies, but it was a very fair of like the play to par works, right? Like there was a very clear play to par. So the describing of hole 18, the way, I haven't seen it, but the way it was described, I feel like there's no way it's as hard because it sounds like you can just get far off the tee.
But see,
which is just like immediately you
it's
can't.
It's like you're basically throwing down a hallway that is, it looks just like 6's fairway once you get around the corner, except it might be a couple feet narrower. So you can get distance off the tee, but there's not much left to right room. So most people are probably not going to get a ton. And here's what makes 18 interesting. What I was saying, if you're a UNI that might only get 350 off that tee, your shot to carry the second group of OB, you might have to lay up.
Well, I'm not thinking UNI. It's not a course for UNI.
Well, that's how you were thinking a second ago.
Well, no. I'm saying hole 6. I was talking in relation to the tour. What made the tour so hard was it made them throw as far as UNI do off the tee.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I don't know that guys will get crazy distance off it. But anyways.
Well, like AB can throw a putter 450.
Yeah. But it's impossible to. Yeah. I think there are holes out there. For instance,
what's the opening shot? Like what's hole 1? Let's get going shot.
So hole 1, like I said, it's a wooded par 4. You're basically it dog legs left. I believe there's OB left the whole way. It wasn't one of the more memorable holes, but I thought it was just. I remember walking in and being like 7 out of 10 seems like a solid, just like pretty normal par 4. The first couple holes, let me look at my notes here. I can kind of tell you where the strength of the course was. So 1 and 2 were like fine. The second hole's like a wooded par 3. So 3 is the one. 3 is the old hole 6 that's playing as that par 4. So that already is like a pretty solid hole. 4 is like a wooded par 3 that's in progress. I think really the best part of this course is there's like a few holes before you get right to the middle, and then honestly the finishing stretch, like the back looked like pretty insane.
I think what I'm most scared of is New London kicked your teeth in because of like the distance in OB, but there was never, very rarely was there around where it was like I throw a shot and I'm just hitting trees, like I can't get anywhere.
Yeah, I don't.
And if that's what New London, if that's why the new London's hard, I will immediately not like it.
I still don't think that's
like
gonna
as
be
long
the vibe.
like because what I always told people is like if you get out to like New London, even if you can't throw that far,
right,
you're gonna get to watch the disc fly.
Totally.
And like that was great. It's like I could shoot 100, but like I got to watch the disc fly. But if I shoot 100 because, or in this course it sounds like maybe a 120 because like I threw it 250 feet, I hit a tree and I kicked way right, and now I'm just hitting tree after tree, like, and that's how it kicks your teeth in. Then I think it's gonna be hard for me to like it.
Definitely tighter, but like I said, I still didn't feel like there were a couple shots.
How many trucks wide, just normal pickup trucks, are driving side by side through a normal fairway? 1, 2,
Hunter is really
3?
Thinking truck math right now.
This is like I said, like I saw this days ago, but like I think a lot of them you could drive 3 or 4 side by side.
Okay, so it's like not really wooded.
Well, it is. Yeah.
That's where you're losing
4 pickup trucks wide is
not wooded.
It's in the woods.
That's
4
still
pickup
only like
trucks,
30
though,
feet.
That's the 4-lane highway.
That's not okay. So maybe like 3, I guess. Good, but like that's some of them. Like some of the, like they vary in width. Like some of the
pick a hole like his hole 3 is like your hole. Like that's
no.
How
Give me hole
wide
16. Give me hole 16. How much is it? Is it a lot like hole 16?
That one's not cut in yet. Oh, you're talking about holes. Oh, you're giving me like a reference one.
Yeah, because hole 16 is a little bit narrower.
16 is probably a 2 pickup truck hole.
So it's on average, it's wider than that.
I would say so. Yes. I would say on average, it is wider than 16.
With no trees in the fairway, or there's trees in the fairway?
Like I was, most of them, you're not going to have trees in the fairway, at least until like some of them put selective ones as you get closer to the basket to guard the basket. But like I said, most of these holes are going to play like a 1 or 3 or 16, where as long as you're not throwing an awful shot, you're at least going to hit the initial gap. It's not like you're hitting a gap off the tee. There's just walls of woods on either side. That's the best way to think of it.
I've never been more scared in my life.
But listen, it's very hard to explain because it is so different. I wish I could have sat down and been like, yeah, they just made a tweak here and here. It is very different. But I still think there's a really good course out there. I'm just curious to see how it develops because I'm not ready to just, like, I'm trending positively knowing that it is sad.
I trust the people in control. If there was anyone I was going to trust with the course, it'd be the Bedford Parks and Rec. And Paul designed New London, so of course I'm going to trust him to design the New London. So all those factors I trust.
Yeah. No, it's like I said, it's a scary thing.
Just be very generous
so
with the trees you take out. If you're listening to this, very generous.
They have been. They've taken out so many trees. I mean, they're literally joking like, hey, if you ever need any firewood, like that's like half their problem is trying to haul it all away. They've taken out a lot of trees, and there's still so much pink ribbon up there and orange spray paint of stuff they're gonna take out. So I think even the fact that I even thought it looked pretty reasonably open now, I think by the time it opens up, it's gonna be way more.
Yeah, I think the uphill battle that course is always gonna face is how beloved the old layout was.
Of course,
that's just
of course.
That's just because like I'm thinking through holes I like genuinely like. Not didn't like because they were hard, but didn't like because I was like, this hole, like, I just don't think it's a great hole. Really, 18, mainly just because the par. I felt like it just wasn't a good hole 18. I think that's a great hole, like 5. Hole 8. And
let me put
am I missing another one?
Let me put it this way. I did not see a single hole as, quote, in my opinion, unfair as hole 17 was. Because I thought 17 was like a little weird, small landing areas. It's kind of like 8 small landing areas. The fairway.
That's a good description. Is hole 17 would be very tight on this new course?
Oh yes,
Okay.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think I can survive it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do think
Clarity's kindness.
Yeah, I think that people are going to, and here's the good news, because as much as the old course was beloved, here's the good news. The old course only existed for a few years. So, the time is not severe. If the old New London had been around for 25 years, this would be brutal.
It feels like it's been around.
It does, because we played it so much, we love it. But the fact that we could get a major here right away, we could really quickly jumpstart it. But you know what? If it sucks, we'll tell you if it sucks. Like I said, I'm optimistic, but I don't have any reason to be optimistic.
Oh, you saw it. You're the only one that has a reason to be optimistic.
No. I mean, like, I don't have like a monetary or like somebody telling you better. Like, they didn't tell me you better gas it up. Like, I just took my notes, asked my questions, and like that's what I thought. So, and Hunter and I typically have pretty similar opinions on courses. So I don't, like I said, I don't think you would. I know you would have gone out there and the same thing. Me had been like a little. I was shell shocked. I was like, oh my gosh, all these things that are gone. But I think you would have walked away being like, yeah, I think there's a good course out there.
Yeah. I'm just terrified.
It's a lot. It's a lot. A lot of change. I wasn't expecting it.
I knew hole 6 was gone. I was very confident hole 6 was gone, mainly because I saw the cutting in on hole 7, which maybe I didn't see cutting in on hole 7.
Yeah, I don't really know.
What's weird is where I described it.
I'm still confuzzled.
Where I described it sounds like where it is. So they definitely.
Well, I can show you the full map.
Yeah, because where I'm remembering it, like your hole 7, you're basically like once you get out of the woods, you're looking straight at the green. I don't know what hole it's going to be, but like...
Yeah, whatever gap you're describing is a different gap, because like we were up at the tee of this hole I'm talking about, and you cannot see through the woods all the way out to like it's completely blind.
Correct, but if you were to walk straight from the tee, where does it spit you out?
Yeah, at the island, but there's no gap there.
Yeah, so they started cutting in from the back.
They may
have. Because there was flags and stuff.
That's what I'm saying.
Cutting in.
You probably would have seen flags in like past the last wall.
Because that's the whole reason. That's the whole reason I said hole 6 is gone, is because we had seen that hole.
Yeah.
Cutting in.
Yeah.
But all right, well. We'll see.
We shall see.
I'm sure that was fun for all of you who don't know New London at all.
It was a segment for the.
You got to know at least a little. World was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to think a lot of people do care about New London.
Well, but the people who don't care definitely just commented and let us know. So
that's
true.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate them doing that.
It's a slow.
Well, how else would we know?
Yeah.
How else would we know if they didn't?
Well, it's also good for engagement. So I really appreciate y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all, no one helps the show.
We're engaged.
No one helps the show more than the haters.